Fight.
It ain't working. The hell?
You should
It
dodge.
ain't working. The hell?
Won't go down!
Devote your move.
A bit tight.
Protect us!
This one's nice. Take this. Like this. Nicely done. Just as I thought.
I can't move!
It's awful. Ha, JK. Good luck.
Not even close!
Full power. Damn it. You better. Power of life. I won't let you! I won't let you! Good luck! Ultimate move! Take that! You can try all you want! Attack! You can try all you want! Attack! No worries! How do you like that? You can try all you want! Attack! No worries! How do you like that?
This time with style! Maximum output! Get out my way! Look out, this!
Convenient!
Not even close!
Perfect! Do it! Fly away! Mess with me! This is good! Not yet! Any power is mine! Destroy! Mess with me! Nope!
How about this?
With my fist, you are!
I won't go down!
Destroy! No good! Way better than I expected! And this! Take that! This suits me! Take this!
With a flourish. Shall we begin?
No way!
With a flourish.
Not yet!
Shall we begin? Pick a call.
I won't go down!
With a flourish.
Voila!
Pick a call.
No way! Not yet!
go.
What are you doing?
Try and stop me. I'll hold nothing back. Out of my way.
Cool. Let's get going. I can save you. Down. No. Not even close.
Scorching
Not
hot
yet. Not yet. Pick. Okay. Not yet. Yeah. Maximum output. Power. How about this? Full force! Power! This time with style! Full force! I won't go down! This time with style! Full force! Not even close! This time with style! Power! All together now! Yeah. I'll take you forward! Hey, I'll take you out! Sorry! I'll take you out! Feel that? How you like this? Yeah! Yeah! Feel that? How you like this? Feel that?
Really felt that.
How you like this?
That's all?
Gotcha! Ah!
Really felt that.
Increasing output.
That's all?
Aim! Yeah! Ah!
Really felt that.
This time
Nice
with
one.
style! Power! This time with style!
Really felt that.
Power! Spicy surge! Sorry if this hurts! All together now! Look out! Get away! Get back! Don't you dare move! Up!
I'm down.
This!
Can anyone help?
That! Yeah! Yeah! Last for it! Plus Ultra! Last for it! Last for it! Fire! Yeah! Yeah!
Let's all do our best.
We are heroes. Good to go. Perfect. Feeling better.